Hi guys, welcome! In this video, we'll dive into the detailed skill analysis of Morroc, the next hero class coming in ROM. Morroc is a tanky damage dealer that primarily deals dark magic, HP loss, and dark true damage. We've already had our first look at Morroc in one of my previous videos. This time we'll explore his skill mechanics and analyze his pros and cons in both PvE and PvP. Alright, without further ado, let's begin. Let's start by diving into Morroc's core passive skill called Darkness Dominator. This core passive enables Morroc to apply stacks of Demon King's Wrath to enemies whenever he uses certain skills. Once an enemy accumulates 6 stacks or its 10-second duration ends, it triggers an explosion. This explosion deals Dark Element true damage if the target is a player, or Dark Element magic damage if the target is a monster. The explosion's damage scales with the level of Morroc's core passive, reaching 480% magic attack multiplier at 7/7. Additionally, when fighting monsters, each point of int that Morroc has increases the explosion's damage by 4%, greatly enhancing its damage in PvE. Here is a breakdown of Morroc's skills that apply Demon King's Wrath. At 7/7 core passive, Morroc can apply 3 stacks of Demon King's Wrath to monsters at once, allowing for faster triggering of the explosion. At level 7 core passive, the explosion can deal additional damage based on the number of abnormal status types on the target. Some of Morroc's debuff skills count as abnormal statuses, which are included in the damage calculation. For example, if a target is inside Demon King's array, bound by Orderless Shackle and inflicted with Darkness, Curse, Silence, and Fear status, this counts as 6 different types of abnormal statuses. In this case, Demon King's Wrath would deal 180% more damage when it explodes. Although the bonus damage can be very powerful, it's not always easy to apply multiple statuses in real-life scenarios, which makes this aspect of his skill situational but rewarding when executed properly. But that's not all. Besides dealing damage, the explosion also applies a debuff to enemies when the core passive reaches level 4. This debuff reduces their Demon Raise damage bonus and Demon Raise damage reduction by 25% for 5 seconds. This synergizes perfectly with his 2-phase Demon King passive skill, which considers Morroc as a Demon Raise when he's attacking or being attacked depending on which phase you've selected. Next, let's take a look at Morroc's damaging skills. First, Morroc's primary damaging skill is Dark Night Storm. It is a Dark Element AoE skill that deals magic damage every second to all enemies within a circular area of 3 meter radius. This skill lasts for 5 seconds, delivering a total of 5 damage ticks while applying 1 stack of Wrath with each hit. On top of that, it has a 20% chance of inflicting Darkness status, which reduces the target's vision and lowers their flee and hit by 50%. Although Dark Night Storm has relatively low base damage, few damage ticks per cast, and pretty long cooldown, its overall damage can be amplified in a lot of ways. First, the related Star Rune can further boost its damage by up to 50%. Second, it deals 50% extra damage against enemies under Darkness status. This makes the use of Grip of Catastrophe and Dark Snake Lord card a good combo to add Darkness status yourself and further increase the damage to targets under Darkness status. Third, when his signature weapon Doomsday Staff is refined to +15 and upgraded to tier 5, enemies bound by Orderless Shackle will take 50% additional damage from Dark Night Storm, and the skill's cooldown is reduced from 2.5 seconds to 2 seconds. Fourth, when he is in Demon Morroc form, Dark Night Storm becomes a targeted skill that moves along with the target and deals damage every 0.5 seconds. And fifth, you can utilize cooldown reduction gears to cast it more frequently. Take note that Dark Night Storm is a ground-based skill, meaning it can be blocked by Earth Field and Fire Rain. Morroc's second damaging skill is Demon King's Reflection. It summons the reflections of enemies in a small area, which take on the appearance of the Veruchis and inherit Morroc's attributes. The reflections attack once every 2 seconds for a total of 5 times. The damage type is HP loss, so it's effective against the serpent form of Jormungandr. In addition to dealing damage, each attack from the reflections applies a stack of Demon King's Wrath and removes 1 buff from the enemy, which makes his skill an excellent way to dispel buffs at the start of a fight. With the related S rune, these reflections also gain an additional 1% to 30% of the target's magic attack, MP, and magic damage. And third, Morroc's End of Everything skill has 2 distinct components. For the first part, every time Demon King's Wrath explodes, Morroc gains 1 stack of Chaos Source, which lasts for 15 seconds and is indicated by the 5 yellow marks above his head. Each mark represents 6 stacks, and he can accumulate up to 30 stacks in total. Each stack increases his dark damage by 1%, allowing him to get 30% dark damage increase at max stacks. Aside from boosting his damage potential, obtaining Chaos Source also provides self-healing due to the related S rune. Thus, it's important for Morroc to consistently use skills to maintain both his health and debuff. For the second part, End of Everything can also be used as a devastating attack skill. When activated, it consumes all stacks of Chaos Source to deal dark magic damage every 0.2 seconds, with the number of damage ticks determined by the number of stacks consumed. Each hit also applies a stack of Demon King's Wrath. If Doomsday kills a player, half of the Chaos Source stacks are returned, allowing Morroc to retain 15% dark damage for continued use. However, when targeting monsters, the stacks are not consumed, letting Morroc maintain his full 30% dark damage buff throughout the battle. Next, let's now explore Morroc's buff and debuff skills. First, we have Demon King's Array, which generates an aura around Morroc, providing buffs to his allies and debuffs to his enemies. When Morroc and his teammates are within this aura, their magic damage and HP loss damage are increased by 25%, making it a powerful offensive boost. On the other hand, when enemies are within the aura and they cast a skill, they suffer from dark magic damage and get 1 stack of Demon King's Wrath, which is triggered once per second. Furthermore, enemies within the aura will have their abnormal status resist be reduced by up to 30% thanks to the related star rune. This makes Demon King's Array both a supportive and offensive tool in combat. Second, Dark Knight Shroud creates a large domain in a designated area that buffs allies and debuffs the enemies. When Morroc and his teammates are inside the domain, they get a 50% reduction in dark element damage received, significantly improving their survivability. Additionally, with the related star rune, whenever Morroc and his allies deal dark damage inside the domain, they gain up to 0.25 elemental counter coefficient. On the other hand, when enemies are inside the domain, their attacks are forcibly converted to Dark Element, which synergizes with the Dark Element damage reduction granted to allies in the domain. This makes it much easier for Morroc's team to tank incoming damage while staying inside Dark Knight Shroud. Players can further boost their tankiness by equipping an Argiope card on their armor or using the Hodel Totem relic. However, like other ground skills, the Shroud can be removed by Earth Field and Fire Rain. And third, Morroc's Orderless Shackle is his strongest crowd control skill. It chains an enemy to Morroc, significantly reducing their movement speed regardless of any immunity effect they might have, such as from Moonlight Flower Star card. This debuff gets stronger and stronger as the enemy moves farther away from Morroc, reaching up to 100% and leaving them with only 10% movement speed at the maximum range. The chain remains active for 30 seconds, but can break if the enemy moves beyond 12 meters from Morroc. Aside from slowing down the enemy, Orderless Shackle also applies 1 stack of Demon King's Wrath per second. Additionally, when Morroc's exclusive weapon is upgraded to Tier 5, it grants Dark Knight Storm a 50% damage boost against chained enemies, further increasing the synergy between his skills. Next, let's dive into Morroc's passive skills. First, Demon King's Will greatly enhances Morroc's magic damage potential and tankiness. This passive provides an additional 10 points of magic attack for every point of Vid and 1% magic damage reduct for every 20 points of Vid. What makes it even more impactful is that the effect doubles when Morroc's HP is above 70%, making it highly rewarding to maintain his health. With this, Morroc can easily reach more than 80,000 magic attack, which can really boost his true damage and HP loss damage. Stacking Vit gives a huge incentive for Morroc as it allows him to build tanky with high HP, physical def, and magic damage reduct while still gaining significant magic power. Second, Demon King's Courtesy adds another layer of disruption by enabling Morroc to inflict multiple abnormal statuses on enemies. Enemies affected by Demon King's Wrath have a 20% chance per second to be inflicted with one of Darkness, Curse, Silence, or Fear statuses. These statuses last for 2 seconds each and are unaffected by abnormal status resist. Furthermore, the chance to apply these statuses increases by an additional 10% for each stack of Demon King's Wrath on the target, making it easier for Morroc to consistently disable enemies. Third, Eternal Dark Shield is a useful defensive ability. This skill converts 100% of the dark damage he receives into a shield that absorbs non-dark damage. If the shield completely blocks an instance of damage, Morroc also gains immunity to any negative effects associated with that attack. This shield can stack and last for up to 30 seconds. The shield synergizes well with Dark Knight Shroud, as enemies inside the domain have their attacks forcibly converted to dark, giving Morroc a shield, while the attacks from enemies outside the shroud or those unaffected by the conversion are absorbed by the shield instead. However, while the shield is undoubtedly useful, it may not match the thickness of Liu Maoxing's shield. And fourth, Two-Faced Demon King changes how enemies perceive his race. This passive allows him to toggle between two effects. If choosing the human face, enemies attacking Morroc will consider him a demon race, meaning their damage to demi-human race modifier won't be included in the damage calculation. This choice also provides Morroc a 30% damage increase against demi-human race, coupled with the level 4 effect of his core passive, which reduces enemies' damage to demon race. Choosing the human face improves Morroc's tankiness significantly. On the other hand, selecting the demon face provides a more offensive approach. When attacking enemies, Morroc will be considered a demon race, bypassing the target's demi-human damage reduction and ensuring his damage output remains high. This choice also grants Morroc a 30% damage reduction from demi-human race attacks. Additionally, since the level 4 effect of his core passive reduces the enemy's demon damage reduction, choosing the demon face will maximize Morroc's damage output. Lastly, let's take a look at Morroc's transformation skill. Morroc's Demon King's arrival allows him to transform into Demon Morroc form for 30 seconds. This transformation is his ultimate skill, granting multiple buffs and enhancing his core skills. Upon transformation, Morroc's HP is restored to full and all negative effects are cleared, making it a reliable tool to escape sticky situations. With the related S rune, it grants invincibility for up to 5 seconds, giving him time to reposition without taking damage. While in Demon Morroc form, he gains 30% final damage reduction, improving his tankiness. Additionally, many of his skills are enhanced. Dark Knight Storm becomes a targeted skill that follows the enemy, ensuring that it cannot be blocked by Earth Field. Its damage interval is also reduced to 0.5 seconds, effectively doubling its damage frequency and making its damage ticks much faster. Both Demon King's Array and Dark Knight Shroud will continuously generate around Morroc with a larger AoE of 12 meters. This expanded radius not only allows him to deal more consistent damage to enemies, but also keeps his allies within the protective buffs of the Shroud. Orderless Shackle binds Morroc to all enemies within 12 meters, preventing them from moving away too far. This ensures they remain within the effective range of both Demon King's Array and Dark Knight Shroud. The transformation also amplifies Morroc's sustain by doubling the HP recovery from Chaos Source, keeping him alive longer in intense battles. On top of this, both faces of Two-Faced Demon King are activated. This means that Morroc is considered as demon race by both attackers and targets he is attacking, enhancing both offense and defense. It's important to note that the transformation cannot be dispelled and will persist even after Morroc dies. With a fixed cooldown of 60 seconds, this transformation can be active for 50% of the time in battle, making it a powerful skill that needs to be used strategically. Given its long cooldown, saving this transformation for critical moments can greatly turn the tide of a battle. Morroc's transformation skill also synergizes with the King's Protection passive, which serves as his anti-fatal mechanic. This passive prevents Morroc from dying and automatically triggers Demon King's arrival if it is not on cooldown. To optimize this synergy, it's recommended to hold off on transforming at the start of the fight, allowing Morroc to absorb fatal damage first. By doing so, the transformation will activate passively, saving the skill for when it is most needed. To summarize, Morroc offers a lot of strengths both in PvE and PvP. One of Morroc's key strengths lies in his sustained damage capabilities. He excels in prolonged fights due to his ability to deal higher damage over time. The true damage from Demon King's Wrath Explosion is particularly powerful in PvP and GVG since true damage is not easily countered by most reductions. With 7/7 core passive, his damage potential increases exponentially as extra damage is calculated based on the number of abnormal statuses inflicted on the target. His kit also provides significant boost to magic attack, dark damage, and dark elemental counter coefficient, allowing him to focus on stacking other magic damage modifiers. In 6v6, his dark damage cannot be countered by the elemental barrier talent, making him particularly threatening. Second, Morroc's ability to be perceived by enemies as Demon Race enhances both his offensive and defensive capabilities. This because it nullifies the enemy's demi-human damage modifiers. At the same time, his level 4 core passive reduces the target's demon damage reduction by 25%, ensuring that enemies will take even more damage from his attacks. And third, Morroc's ability to forcibly convert the attack element of enemies can further improve his survivability. He can make use of mechanics like equipping an Agruope card to reduce incoming dark damage. Moreover, any dark damage he receives is converted into a shield that absorbs non-dark damage, further improving his ability to soak damage. But of course, Morroc still has some shortcomings that you should consider. First, Morroc needs time to build up the stacks of Demon King's Wrath, Chaos Source, and Abnormal Statuses to be able to reach his maximum damage potential. This reliance on stacks means that Morroc needs to cast multiple skills quickly and efficiently. A cooldown reduction build becomes essential to improve his casting speed and overall DPS. However, if Morroc is bursted down too quickly by enemies, he might not have enough time to deal his maximum damage output, which can hinder his effectiveness in high-pressure situations. Second, another downside is that Morroc's offensive skills are locked to the Dark element. While Dark can be powerful against Holy element targets, it is weak against Dark, Undead, and Poison elements. This can limit his effectiveness in certain PvE and PvP situations. To mitigate this drawback, Morroc needs a reliable Nidhogg partner. As mentioned in one of my videos, Nidhogg will have a buff that lets Streamer of Fallen Light convert the enemy's elemental armor into Holy. Hence, this weakness can still be turned into an advantage if you can form a team centered in dealing dark damage. And third, despite his strong damaging potential that can overpower most hero classes, Morroc may still struggle against Elenia in the current PvP meta. When she is riding PP Dragon or another player, she becomes immune to Morroc's debuffs, meaning her attacks cannot be converted to dark. This limits Morroc's ability to counter her effectively. To overcome this, he must first deal with Elenia's mount before focusing on taking her down, which can be time-consuming and difficult during intense battles. Overall, Morroc is a hybrid powerhouse capable of dealing substantial damage and inflicting debuffs without sacrificing survivability. Whether you focus on building him as a durable tank or a main DPS, his kit ensures that you can adapt to a wide range of combat scenarios, making him a formidable force in the battlefield. How about you guys? Do you think Morroc will be part of the meta? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll also be releasing a full guide on his PvE DPS build in other videos, so stay tuned for that. Alright, that's it for this video guys. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this guide. If you're new here, I would love you to consider subscribing by hitting the subscribe button down below. I would love to have you back. Thank you for watching and see you in our next episode.